a face they wanted to see. Jared Thomas had never been to Briarwood gas station. It was across the city, in a neighborhood he didn't go near, not because it was dangerous but because he had no reason to. That night he'd been driving his fiancée to her sister's baby shower. There were selfies, receipts, text messages, but none of that mattered. Because at 7:42 p.m., a man in a gray hoodie and black jeans held up a gas station with a cheap pistol. And the security camera, old, low-res, and grainy, showed a figure whose skin tone might have matched Jared's. No clear face, no license plate, but the officer on duty paused the footage, looked up, and said, "Looks like that Thomas guy." That was all it took. At 6:10 a.m. the next morning, Jared's front door shattered open. He woke to shouting, flashing lights, guns in his face. His fiancée screamed. Their dog barked and didn't stop. And Jared, barefoot in boxers, was dragged outside by his arms. The arresting officer smirked as he pushed Jared into the car. "You fit the picture. Maybe don't dress like a criminal next time." Jared asked, "What picture?" He didn't get an answer. Only cuffs dot the evidence they ignored. Jared had never been inside a jail cell before. The cold metal bench, the concrete floor, the humming fluorescent lights that never turned off. Time moved differently inside, slower, heavier. No one told him what he was officially charged with. No lawyer, no explanation. Just a holding cell and waiting. When they finally spoke to him, it wasn't a detective, it was a rookie officer reading from a printed report. Armed robbery. Masked suspect. Gas station clerk said it was a black male, average build, gray hoodie, black jeans. Suspect fled on foot. Jared blinked. That's half the men in this city. That's not an ID. The officer didn't answer. He just shrugged. They took Jared's phone. He told them, begged them to check his GPS, his texts, the photo from the baby shower he took at exactly 7:43 p.m. It had his face, his location, his fiancée's hand in his. But they didn't even look. Instead, they printed a still frame from the gas station's camera, a blurry figure in a hoodie. The face was a pixelated smear. No detail, no eyes, no mouth, just the suggestion of a person. "Looks like you," the lead detective said. "You're not denying it's you, are you?" "I'm denying I've ever been there," Jared said through clenched teeth. The detective leaned back. "Then I guess you'll prove it in court." 2 days later, bail was denied. The judge, a white man in his 60s, said the charges were too serious and the evidence sufficiently compelling. Jared's lawyer, a public defender with 3 other hearings that same day, barely spoke. Jared sat in the courtroom, jaw tight, as the prosecutor repeated the same line. Gas station footage places the defendant at the scene. Witness described his clothing. Arrest was made within 12 hours. Flight risk present. No mention of Jared's alibi. No mention of the selfie. No mention of his GPS data. His fiancée, Kayla, stood outside the courthouse in tears. "This is insane," she whispered to the reporters. "He was with me the whole night. The entire time." But they didn't put that on the evening news. What they showed instead was the blurry photo, the one the police had leaked. The one that looked just close enough. 3 weeks passed. Inside county lockup, Jared was attacked by another inmate who thought he was a rapist from TV. His eye swelled shut. The guards laughed. Medical attention took 9 hours. Kayla visited as often as she could. She brought printouts, the GPS route, the time-stamped selfie, a signed note from her sister. But the DA wouldn't drop the charges. "Let a jury decide," he said coldly. "That's what trials are for." Jared's public defender filed a motion to suppress the gas station footage. It was too blurry, he argued, too low quality to be usable. The judge denied it in under 5 minutes. On the day of the pretrial hearing, Jared sat in the courtroom beside his lawyer. The prosecutor leaned over the table and slid something across a plea deal. 5 years. You plead guilty, you're out in 2 with good behavior. Jared stared at the paper. I'm innocent, he said. You'll say that, the DA replied, from inside a prison cell or from outside it. Up to you. And that's when Jared noticed something. The DA was smirking. Like it was all already decided. They had proof. They didn't care. Jared didn't take the plea. He couldn't. Signing that paper meant giving up everything: his innocence, his reputation, his future. He'd rather fight, even if the fight was rigged. That night in jail he couldn't sleep. His cellmate snored loudly. Somewhere down the hall, someone screamed into the dark, but the overhead light buzzed like a dying insect. But in his mind, Jared kept replaying the same loop. The baby shower. The car ride. The selfie at 7:43 p.m.
And then it hit him. His car. His car had a dash cam. Kayla had bought it after a fender bender 6 months ago. They had auto-uploaded to the cloud.
He had never once thought about it. The next day during her visit, Jared told Kayla. She blinked, then pulled out her phone, started digging. An hour later she found the footage from that night. Time-stamped. Location tagged. Jared driving, singing along to a song. Kayla laughing in the passenger seat. At exactly 7:42 p.m., the moment the robbery was happening, Jared's car was 41 miles away, stuck in traffic near the city bridge. It was undeniable. Kayla brought the footage to the defense attorney. He looked stunned, then almost scared. This could get the case dropped. Jared allowed himself a tiny flicker of hope. But it wouldn't last long. 2 days later, they returned to court. The prosecutor reviewed the dashcam file, expression unreadable. Then he stood up. We object to its inclusion. The judge raised an eyebrow. On what grounds? It cannot be authenticated. Chain of custody is unclear. And if the defense had this earlier, they failed to disclose in time.
Jared's lawyer argued back passionately for once, but the DA was ready.
He claimed the dashcam footage might have been edited or simulated. He pointed out that cloud uploads can be faked. That Kayla, the defendant's fiancée, had motive to create alibi content. Jared sat in stunned silence. They were calling his reality fake. His proof a lie. The judge didn't strike the footage entirely. But he ruled that it would be up to the jury whether the video was credible. The problem was, the jury hadn't even been picked yet. And local news already had their headline. Dashcam footage emerges but DA calls it suspicious. That night, back in jail, Jared finally broke. He slammed his fists against the wall, cried into his mattress. Screamed into the silence until the guard banged on the bars and told him to shut the hell up. He didn't shut up. Because something else had happened. Kayla, normally calm, soft-spoken, had done something no one expected.
She posted the full dashcam footage online.
Within 48 hours, it had 1.2 million views. And that's when Jared got his second visitor. Not Kayla. Not his lawyer. Not a cop. A woman in a sharp navy suit. Clean ID badge. Internal affairs. And she had a question. Mr. Thomas, are you aware this isn't the first time that detectives made a mistake like this? Cleared, but never free. Jared stared at the woman across from him.
Internal affairs. Her tone was measured, professional. But beneath it, something sharp. She laid out the facts. The detective who eyed Jared from the blurry gas station footage, he'd been warned before. Twice. Once for arresting a teenager based on a mismatched witness sketch. Once for leaking evidence to local news. Both cases quietly sealed. But this time, with the video going viral, the department had to act. You might have grounds for a civil suit, she said. False arrest, malicious prosecution, emotional distress. Jared didn't answer. Because all he could think about was the look on his fiance's face during that last visit. She wasn't crying, she was angry and tired. 3 days later, the DA dropped all charges. In a short press statement, they said new evidence had come to light. They did not apologize, they did not admit error. The same outlets that ran his mugshot now printed grainy stills from the dashcam footage like that somehow made it even. Jared walked out of county lockup wearing county-issued sweats. No shoes, no bag, no escort, just freedom and silence. Kayla picked him up. They didn't say much on the way home. The next few weeks blurred. One lawyer wanted him to sue the city. Another wanted to help monetize the experience, book deals, interviews, documentaries. Jared said no to everything. He just wanted to breathe again. But even that wasn't simple. His old job wouldn't take him back. Too much attention, they said. Neighbors watched him differently. And one night, a man at the grocery store whispered, "Aren't you the guy who robbed that place?" A month later, Jared sat on a park bench scrolling his phone. The gas station that had been robbed, they arrested someone else. Real suspect, real face, real confession. But the news barely covered it because his name had already been the headline. The public had already decided. He closed the article, looked up at the sky, listened to children laughing nearby, and then a voice behind him. "Hey." "They?" He turned. It was a teenager. Black, 14 maybe. Wide-eyed. "I saw your video," the kid said. "You ain't do nothing." "I told my mom that could be me." Jared smiled softly, nodded. Then the kid asked, "So what now?" And Jared didn't have an answer. He just looked at him. Then at the phone in his hand. Then at the world around him. And for the first time since it all began, he pressed record.